AI has been around for many years, but it does feel in the last year that everybody's been jumping on the AI bandwagon in the small business community. And clearly there's some real advantages of getting it right. But equally, for many people, including myself, some people are finding it bewildering. So in this video, what we're going to do is look at how we can adopt it wisely in a small business scenario. And particularly we're going to concentrate on the finances in a small business. So what's the first thing to think about? Well, the first thing to think about, it's real and it's happening. Now, I think the stats are saying now that 35% of small businesses are now using some form of AI within their finances. And obviously that percentage is just going to naturally increase over time. But the first thing to think about is, what problem is AI solving? Because what we are seeing is that the fundamentals of a business need to work first before they can bring AI in. So how can you use AI in your finance department of your small business? Well, the first area is invoicing. Invoicing really lends itself to AI and using AI-based tools to generate your invoices in your business. We're already finding that a lot of the big software companies are adopting AI and embedding AI within the systems that they use. And these can then help you raise invoices and make sure the invoicing is done on time and in a correct way. The second area is expense categorisation, making sure that things are correctly classified when they come into your business. So again, the AI tools out there now that are really smart. They can look at a bill, they can read the bill, they can decide who that supplier is. They'll go off to the internet, work out what that supplier actually does, look at the VAT on that bill and decide whether that VAT is recoverable or not, and then make the decision on what it posts into your accounting system. So really sort of smart systems that are doing a lot of the sort of thinking for you, and obviously then taking, one, it's reducing the risk of errors, and two, it's speeding up that process. Other areas are for cash flow. So cash flow forecasting, typically that can be quite labour intensive when you're doing a cash flow forecast. You've got to think about when customers and clients are going to pay you. You've got to think about when your suppliers are going to need to be paid. If you're using an AI-based system, what it will do is it will look at past trends within those, looking back at those clients and looking at those suppliers to see when they actually pay you or when they do need to be paid, and then it would come up with a rules-based approach to actually build the forecast for you. So it'll look back and it'll start looking at the trends, and it will use those trends to build your forecast, potentially with your help support you doing that. These sort of things do still need a human eye in it. Certainly from my experience, the systems are great. They will do a lot of the heavy lifting for you, but they do need a human eye to come in and make sure that those forecasts are still realistic. There's always going to be things out there that potentially might change that AI and the AI logic, and that does need a human eye still to make sure that cash flow forecast is happening and happening right. The next area is fraud and fraud management. Obviously small businesses are paying suppliers, and what the AI can do is potentially look for fraud and potentially warn you if it suspects fraud. We had a case recently where the AI picked up that the account number didn't match with the bank account or the name on the bank account, and that flagged up an error, and therefore that was caught. But fraudsters are becoming ever more sophisticated in how they are trying to defraud small businesses, and therefore AI can act as a tool to help you reduce fraud or reduce the risk of fraud in your business. So how do you go about actually adopting AI and bringing it into your business? Well, I think the first thing would be to start small. Very often it's people sort of jump on the bandwagon, we want the new thing, we want the flashy thing, and people go out, they buy these new applications, spend a lot of money on them in some cases. But from our experience, it's to start small with AI and then build on it and layer it up and start building it into your business. And clearly, the first thing is to make sure that the processes within your businesses, are working, the fundamentals are there, and then you're potentially bringing in AI to improve efficiency on top of that. So what are the risks and what are the things to look out for when you're bringing in AI? Well, firstly, privacy. For us in our business, we have to be super careful around client information and what we do with that, and therefore we would never ever put anything that's confidential into an open AI application, because obviously it's an open source and we've got no control of that data once it goes in. So just be very careful with the information that you're putting into any AI system to make sure that you've got the privacy and guarantees that you need to make sure that you're protected from that perspective. The other thing is, don't be caught up in the bias of AI as well. Sorry, the hype of AI. Everyone's jumping on the bandwagon. You should have this, shouldn't have that. Because it can become a little bit overwhelming. You go on webinars, you see these new tools that are coming out. Oh, we should have that. We should have this. But start with the basics. So recently, we've just brought in a tracking AI system that just tracks our client conversations. So when we're having conversations with the clients, it's basically building notes in the background. It's taking actions, and it's presenting those actions back to us at the end of the meeting. So what that's doing is just taking time. Normally in the old days, in the previous days, we'd be taking notes, writing it down manually, or typing up the actions. That's all taking time. But now we've got automated AI note takers, which will take those notes, build the actions, and then we can potentially send those with the clients as well. So that in itself, that small change for us has made a big time saving in our firm. So that's what I would say is, when you're looking at implementation, don't get caught up in the hype. Just think about your business and keep your feet on the ground and make sure you're doing things in a logical, organised way, and then build up over time and introduce AI into your business. So hopefully that's been useful. If it has, please like and subscribe to our channel.